What's going on, everybody who's listening and watching? It's Kellen Cash here again, and back with another work break conversation. Wanted to give everybody an update on what happened at Podfest 2019 in Orlando, Florida. Beautiful times, beautiful grind. Podfest was one of those things where this is how things work. I like to explain how things work. That we had recommended last year that two of our big YouTubers go to VidCon because that's supposed to be a big event, whatnot, and they had never been. They went, they met Chris K. Chris, great guy, told them, hey, I'd love to have you at Podfest. When we reached out to Chris opened his doors, everything wide open, allowed them to come, allowed their videographers, their teams to come. I was allowed to bring my guy, Tyson, from the Diversified Game, and he came out. Everybody came out. And these tickets are over $500 tickets, VIP, whatnot tickets, all access. So we get out there and we meet up with, the other podcasters. You had John Dumas out there. You had Pat Flynn. You had Roberto Blake. Roberto Blake, I had to give a big thank you because it was years ago. Roberto Blake helped me out with something with a YouTuber where I didn't know where this YouTuber gauged all the software and this and that we have to say that. I didn't really know. And Roberto Blake shared with how much he gets and that his audience wasn't even that high, because he's at like almost 400,000 now, but I was dealing with a YouTuber who was about 410, 450 maybe at tops, and he was saying how much, he was getting. So it gave me that confidence to go out to the other YouTubers and say, hey, this is what we have to get because people lower in different, realms are getting this, so we at least knew where to gauge. So to say all that, all those folks, everybody was cool, everybody was themselves, everybody was authentic to them, and we hope to carry on these relationships and we grow as a unit. So go out there, Podfest 2019, and just rock it. My influencers, they spoke on panels, they spoke good times, educated the people, because that's what it's really about, is educating the people. Just met so many good people, possible sponsors that we hope to get for influencers, and even on the Diversified Game, because Tyson was working out there doing his thing. I felt like I had cloned myself because he was just in the mix. That was my way of double dipping, because I can bring my team out and they can do what they do and they do what I do. You know what I mean? So that was a beautiful thing. I got to see the legendary Aresnio Hall at the Improv in Orlando. Man, if you don't know, I love the comedy clubs. I could just hang out at the comedy clubs all night. I feel like I'm home at the comedy club. I'm good. And Aresnio had a great opener. This Asian woman. And, at the comedy club, I got to be close to the action. I sit up front. And we had like 6 of us. We're up front. We made that happen. Big shout out to Improv for letting that happen. Captain, thank you. And she had asked, she was like, where are all the Asian in Orlando? I haven't seen one Asian. So I told her, I said, you got to go to the massage parlors. And the whole audience, it seemed like all eyes were on me. One of my clients were like, Kellen, and he was behind me. And so I don't know, I didn't notice this. I'm just in my zone, but I told everyone I was going to do my thing when I got there. And so they're looking at me. The audience, this one guy is looking at me. She loved it. I mean, it set her up for her next joke. And that's what we're here to do as comedians, set you up for your next joke. And, she said she liked me and she appreciated that. And she had some material for that. So that was a beautiful thing. Always nice to be part of the show, even when you aren't officially part of the show. But I just knew it was going to, it was going to go down some way at the Aresnio Hall show. And, Aresnio man, his timing and jokes is beautiful. You know, he doesn't even give, when you talk about hecklers and comedy, he doesn't even give that space. Like, he's on to his next thing, and he can include the crowd, but it's like no one is gonna go there and heckle him without being like a jerk, because it's timing. And he was good, he was funny, and I would not just say that, but he's a legend. We loved it, loved every bit of Podfest. And like I say, big shout out to Chris. We hope to do it again and even have our clients be the main feature, because one of my clients was, you know, as far as YouTube, he was the biggest there, but on the podcasting, you know, with John Dumas, who had, I mean, we love John Dumas. I've booked people on his show before. You know, he does so many interviews. His work ethic is crazy, and that's the biggest thing that I can tell you people who want to do what these influencers do. You gotta increase your work ethic. It's not just putting up the material, but it's editing the material. It's collaborating. It's working. Like, I will tell you, for the diversifiedgame.com podcast, the work ethic that Tyson puts in there, you would have thought he gets paid $5,000 before we see 1 rand. And 1 rand, that's the South African currency. You guys can look that up and see what that's worth. And yeah, but he puts in work for that. And when, you know, we came up with this thing, it was like years ago, really, but we just put it into practice last December. So it's just, you know, for it to be a top 100 podcast, it's because of the work ethic. And some folks are sleeping. Some folks are sleeping, and you cannot sleep. That's the one thing Podfest 2019 showed a lot of people. People were like, wow, this influencer that you have has over 1 million subscribers. This one has, you know, over 100,000 people watching. But it's about the work ethic, and that they did this for free. They did this on bended knee. You know, they did it just because they had to do it. It was part of their purpose, part of their gift. So that's the one thing I could tell you, is make sure that you're doing things for purpose, because I saw a lot of jokers too at Podfest. And you could tell the jokers, they weren't serious. Or the people that, you know, maybe they just put their foot in, but they don't know how it's going to go. Nobody knows how it's going to go. This stream right now might go, you know, 1 million views in one day, in Jesus' name, and you just don't know. So you just got to keep pushing out stuff. And, you know, Seth Godin talks about how they know him as a best-selling author, but most of his books weren't best-selling books. But you don't know that. You know, you don't know how many flops Gary Vee and these people have had, but you only look at the success. So that's a good thing about a conference. It can show you that success does not come overnight. There wasn't one person there who was speaking that I saw that was successful, that it was overnight success. Because there were some people who were speaking who were still new and still had some progress, but the folks that I knew that were really, you know, going hard in the paint, man, those people have been working probably, you know, a decade at least at what they were doing. And then you can tell in the way they talk. And I just know, because I've done a lot of free work myself, that what you're doing today is going to set up tomorrow. And you just have to believe in that. You got to believe me. So Podfest was awesome. We also went down to Bethune Cookman. If you check out the Killing Cash with a K, Instagram, you'll see the shots at Bethune Cookman. Bethune Cookman was all that. You know, I had my Grambling alumni outfit. They showed love. They respected it. They couldn't check it, but they respected it. Hooked up with some folks in the mass comm department. And I say some folks intentionally because we went there just kind of on a spur of the moment thing. And, you know, sometimes you need permission to go on campus, but they didn't give us any issues, no problems with that. And we were able to talk with some students, and it was a good time at Bethune Cookman. Checked out Daytona, but they were having bike week. A lot of MAGA hats out there. Not the crowd we were looking for. So we ventured off and went back to the Orlando area and actually went to Eatonville, Florida, which if you haven't heard of Eatonville, Florida, let me tell you, Eatonville, Florida is the first Black self-governing town in this country. It's like the real current day Rosewood. And one of CPR firm's clients is from there. Big shout out to Tiffany to allowing Eatonville. She showed us it's a vegan Jamaican spot, and I had never had vegan Jamaican. Oh man, they had that fish yacht. That was the truth. The cauliflower, that was the truth. And she even brought her grandmother, who gave us the real history of Eatonville, you know, from the just the everything, you know, Zora Neale Hurston, that history, this history. And her grandmother was so cool. She was a professional bowler. She's a golfer. I mean, she's retired, you know what I mean? But she's doing all these things, and it was just beautiful talking to her. Cynthia Harris, potential state rep out of that area. They were doing some big Women's Day thing at the restaurant. God will bless you. He will bless you, because this is all just spur of the moment stuff. We say we wanted to do it that day, call Tiffany up, and they just happened to be setting up. And so by the time we left there, it was a party getting started, you know, on their end, and it was dark and it was all good. But check out the history of Eatonville, because we'd hate for that place to get gentrified like it looks like they're trying to do. Even though it's a small town, it gives me some ideas, you know, investment wise. But it was beautiful in Eatonville with some good food. And you know, we went back to the, you know, the mission and getting all the footage that we needed to get for clients for filming and movies, whatnot. You know, big shout out to the Advise Media Network, and you know, everything that's going on over there with being the biggest Black news network. Big shout out to Lovely T. She did great on her panels. Big shout out to everybody who was you know, already mentioned, because it was just all love. Morgan, Isba, Brittany, they were part of the crew as well. You know, we really, you know, everyone, Tiny up there, it was just, you know, it was all good. It was all good. And, you know, if I could tell you one thing to leave you with, make sure you do not sleep on going to conferences. Conferences make the difference. Your business will increase the more conferences you go to, or I'll almost give you your money back, because I got to see how you network. If you go to conferences and you're quiet, if you go to conferences and you don't talk to everybody in that building that you can, everyone who does and doesn't look like you, because it works in both ways. You got to talk to everybody, whether you have business cards or not. Put everybody's number in your phone. You got to do that. You know, it's like, don't leave me alone. You got to be in the zone. And that is one thing that we can help you with. If you need help, go to cprfirm.as.me, book some time. Let's talk and get you ready, because you'll be like, oh, I'm shy. We can get that shyness out of you, hopefully, and we can also come with you, because that's what we do. It may not be me. I can't go to every conference. I got babies to raise and a wife to please, but it may be somebody on my team, and you can even book some time with someone on the team at cprfirm.as.me, and even some of our influencers are on there. So just wanted to, you know, give you a little bit of game. Check us out on diversifiedgame.com. You know, new content every week. We are ready. You know, if you're ready. This is the quick work break conversation. I'm Killing Cash, and I'm out.